Thank you for joining us on this segment of Remembering Our Past, Creating Our Future. This is a series of interviews with selected supporters of the Future Kings program. The supporters selected have been instrumental in the design and strategic focus of Future Kings. They discuss elements of their lives that have shaped their perspectives on the value of the work of Future Kings. Let's take a look at the life of Future Kings supporter Clarence Miller.
My name is Clarence Miller. I was born in the Depression in 1931 in a little farming community of Chatfield, Texas, in Navarre County, which is about 50 miles south of Dallas. My family were farmers. They owned an 80-acre farm, and I had one brother, and we were both raised. Our early years were spent and typically in what farm children do during the year. We were members of the community, and in that little community, it was mostly black community, and they were all farmers in a little area called Timothy, which is a part of Chatfield area. And we went to a two-room school, Finch Elementary School, which went through the 8th grade. Because that's as high as the education went for their school. So I went to school there, and during my years as a kid, I worked on the farm. I helped my dad, who was also a carpenter. I helped him also in carpentry work. He owned a truck. My brother and I helped him in hauling, doing some commercial hauling that he did. As I mentioned, I was born during the Depression in 1931, which means I guess our family, how would I characterize it, was not, sure, we were poor, like just about everybody else, but we were not poverty. And I make a difference there because I never knew a hungry day, that we didn't have enough food on the table, that my parents didn't provide. My brother and I got Christmas presents. And I sometimes joke, we didn't know we were poor because everybody that lived around us was in the same condition or worse. And so we thought we lived pretty good. So our upbringing was pretty good. After I completed the 8th grade in that elementary school. My parents sent me to Dallas to live with my aunt so that I could go to high school. So my first year of high school was at Booker T. Washington High School in Dallas, Texas. But I was homesick and didn't really want to do that for another year. So the next year, they moved me to the county seat of Navarre County, which is only 18 miles from my home. And I lived with a mortician who was a fairly wealthy lady. And she took a liking to me, and much of what I got done in life, she helped me to get started. But anyway, I spent my second year in high school at G.W. Jackson High School in Corsicana. And then my family broke up. My mother then moved off the farm and moved to Corsicana. And I finished high school in G.W. Jackson High School in Corsicana. And then I went to Prairie View A&M University. And I graduated from Prairie View during the war. And so I was in ROTC program, advanced ROTC. So when I graduated from college in 1951, at the age of 20, I was called to active duty as a second lieutenant in infantry, and went into the Army. And then I started my military career then. Much of my military career was spent in the Cold War era, which was, of course, tension between the United States and Russia, nuclear powers, our forces at that time were deployed. About 20% of the army was in Germany because the defense of Europe against a Russian bloc attack was the primary concern. Of course, Vietnam came along, and I was in Vietnam. I didn't go. I went. Most of my people that I was along with in my cohort, they went to Vietnam in 66, 67, 68. Unfortunately, when I went not to Vietnam, but my assignment after I went to Command and General Staff College, I came to Washington, D.C. and studied Arabic for a year so that I could go to Saudi Arabia as the air defense advisor to Saudi Arabia. And my mission there was to help them install a Hawk missile system, which we had sold them, and to develop an air defense doctrine. So I spent a year in school here studying Arabic, and then a year in Saudi Arabia. Went back to the United States, and then I went to Vietnam. I mention this in some sort of detail because at the same time, this was the civil rights era and a lot of racial tension, but as a member of the armed forces, as a young man, I was not as involved with that from from a community aspect of demonstrating or anything like that, being in uniform. My biggest challenge was concurrently there was a lot of racial strife within the military, and I certainly worked and encountered that, and I probably noticed this more in Vietnam than anywhere, because we had not only coping with the racial tension among the troops, not so much in the front line areas, but troops in the rear area on the base camps. And also compounding that was the availability of drugs that were being peddled to servicemen. And we had a big problem not only with racial tension, but also with drug problem of troops. So unlike a lot of my friends who was civilian, my actions within the civil rights movement were fairly limited, mostly just to the military. I did later on to try to cope with the racial strife. The Defense Department established a Defense Race Relations School down in Florida, which is still there today. And I was selected, by that time I was a colonel, and I was selected to go down and be the director of education and establish a curriculum for that school. And I looked at that as one of my accomplishments that I really liked the challenge. I was there in Florida at the school for almost 2 years. And the curriculum we developed, I went back about 20 years later for a visit. My wife and I were down in Florida on vacation, and I went to visit. So I went by to visit that school, and they were still pretty well doing the same thing. It was just we changed the name of it from Race Relations to Equal Opportunity Management Institute, but it still had the same mission of training military people to go out into the field and deal with racial issues, conduct seminars, and do a lot of things that today we call diversity. During those days, we called it equal opportunity and affirmative action. Well, I support Future Kings, and I think a lot of the organization because number one, I like the vision of its founder, Dr. Eric King. Um, I like the fact that it provides an opportunity for exposure to technology, science, and math that it serves that he focuses on underserved communities in schools. Um, so I've worked with him for a few years when he was a math teacher at a middle school, and I worked with him when he started this as an after-school program. And I am proud to see how much it has continued to grow and expand. I think that uh, uh, the while it is important that exposure to science, technology, and math that the students get through him, he also, I like the vision of he exposes them through field trips, guest lectures, and other things to people and to other parts of society that they probably would never be exposed to. So I think both from a technical aspect and from a aspect of presenting them opportunities and opening their eyes are both very beneficial and worthy of support. That's the main reason that I support the program. What I would like to see with Future Kings is I like the direction of the organization. An opportunity for us to expand the program beyond a couple of schools in Prince William County. Now that may take an alliance of working with another organization, maybe like the Urban League or someone. And it's something that I'm going to talk to Dr. King about, and because I have a couple of organizations in mind, but I would like to see the program expanded to a greater opportunity, to open up opportunities for other kids. And I just think it's, I'd like to see him throughout Northern Virginia. That's my vision and what I would like to see Future Kings become.